You've spent your entire life trying to be heard, and no one remembers your name. You speak, and they nod. You share your thoughts, and they scroll past. You enter rooms, and the air doesn't shift. This isn't because you lack intelligence or worth. It's because you've confused presence with visibility, noise with resonance. The people who command attention, who bend rooms to their will, who make others lean in when they speak, they aren't louder than you. They're playing an entirely different game. And the rules of that game have been hidden from you, deliberately, because the moment you understand them, you stop being forgettable. You become inevitable. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. Right now, as you exist, you are background noise. Not because of who you are, but because of what you radiate. Attention is not given freely in this world. It is taken strategically, through patterns of behavior that trigger ancient circuits in the human brain. These circuits don't care about fairness or kindness. They care about threat assessment, value detection, and survival advantage. When someone ignores you, they aren't being cruel. They're making an unconscious calculation that you don't register as significant. You don't move the needle on their internal threat or reward meter. And until you understand how to manipulate that meter, you will remain exactly where you are, forgotten the moment you leave the room. The first habit is discomfort with silence. Most people panic when conversation dies. They fill voids with nervous laughter, pointless observations, cheap jokes. This is submission behavior. Predators in nature don't break silence anxiously. They own it. When you speak after everyone else has exhausted themselves, your words land with disproportionate weight. Silence creates vacuum, and vacuum creates anticipation. The person who controls the pause controls the room. Practice this until it feels natural. Let conversations breathe around you. Let others scramble. Your stillness will register as confidence. And confidence is the currency of attention. The second habit is asymmetric revelation. Oversharing is the disease of the ignored. You think vulnerability creates connection, so you spill your insecurities, your weekend plans, your relationship problems to anyone who'll listen. But mystery is magnetic. The people who captivate others reveal themselves in layers, strategically, never fully. They answer questions with questions. They deflect smoothly. They give enough to intrigue, never enough to satisfy. When people don't fully understand you, their brains obsess over the gaps. You become a puzzle they need to solve. Start withholding information that doesn't serve you. Make them work for your story. The third habit is selective availability. You've been taught that being helpful and accessible makes people value you. The opposite is true. Scarcity creates value. When you're always available, always responding instantly, always saying yes, you signal that your time has no competing demands. You become convenient, not important. The people who are never ignored are often mysteriously busy. They take hours to respond. They say no without explanation. They make others adjust schedules to fit them. This isn't cruelty. It's market dynamics. Flood supply and demand collapses. Restrict supply and people fight over access to you. Fourth, you need to master the art of strategic disagreement. Agreeable people fade into wallpaper. When you constantly affirm what others say, you become an echo, not a voice. But those who disagree, intelligently, calmly, with evidence, become memorable. Disagreement creates tension, and tension is attention. The key is doing this without hostility. You're not arguing to win. You're presenting an alternative framework that challenges their assumptions. This forces their brain to engage with you actively, not passively. They might not like what you said, but they will remember who said it. And memory is the first step to mattering. The fifth habit is eliminating qualifier language. Listen to how invisible people speak. I'm not sure, but maybe we could, or this might be stupid, but, or I could be wrong, but I think. Every qualifier is a surrender of authority. It's a preemptive apology for existing. Dominant communicators make declarative statements. This is the issue. Here's what we'll do. The solution is obvious. They don't couch observations in maybes and perhaps. Even when they're uncertain, they speak with conviction. This isn't about being right. It's about sounding like someone who should be listened to. The brain equates certainty with competence, even when that certainty is performed. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet, something about the psychology of value that will disturb you. The sixth habit is weaponized competence. You must be undeniably good at something that matters to the people around you. Not good at everything. Specialization is power. Find the skill that creates dependency. In business environments, it's the person who understands the one system no one else can fix. In social circles, it's the person who has access to experiences others crave. Become the bottleneck for something others need, and you transform from optional to essential. People don't ignore problems they can't solve without you. This is Machiavellian, yes, but Machiavelli understood what idealists refuse to accept. Power comes from making yourself irreplaceable, not likable. Seventh, you need to cultivate deliberate unpredictability. Patterns make you invisible. When people know exactly how you'll react, what you'll say, where you'll be, you become furniture. But unpredictability triggers vigilance. The brain is wired to monitor threats, and unpredictability reads as potential threat. This doesn't mean being chaotic. It means occasionally breaking your own patterns. Show up differently. React unexpectedly. Take the position no one thought you'd take. People will start watching you more carefully, trying to anticipate you, and that surveillance is a form of attention. You want them slightly off, balance around you, never quite sure what you'll do next. The eighth habit is social proof multiplication. Humans are herd animals. We determine value by watching what others value. If you're always alone, always excluded from group dynamics, you signal low status. But if you're seen with people others respect, your value inflates by association. This is why networking matters, but not in the shallow way you've been taught. You don't need thousands of connections. You need visible connection to high-status individuals. One photo with someone important does more for your perceived value than 50 conversations with people no one knows. This is dark, but it's true. Work backward from influence. Find ways into proximity with people who already command attention, and their light will reflect onto you. Ninth, master the pregnant pause after someone speaks. Most people respond immediately, desperately trying to show they're engaged. But when you pause, just 2 or 3 seconds before responding, something shifts. That pause signals you're actually processing what was said, that it was weighty enough to require thought. It also creates slight discomfort, and discomfort makes people attentive. They lean forward, wondering what you'll say, whether you agree, whether you'll validate them. That moment of suspense is power. Use it deliberately, especially after someone says something they clearly want affirmed. Make them wait for your judgment. The 10th habit is refusing to explain yourself unless strategically necessary. Justification is weakness. When you constantly explain your choices, your lateness, your decisions, you invite evaluation. You place yourself in a subordinate position, seeking approval. People who are never ignored rarely explain themselves. They act, and others adapt. I won't be able to make it is complete. No need for, because I have this thing, and my cousin is visiting, and I'm really sorry, but. Explanations invite negotiation and imply your decision isn't final. State your position and stop talking. The silence after will feel uncomfortable to you at first. But that discomfort is you shedding the need for constant validation. We're approaching something critical now, a shift in how you'll need to view human interaction itself. 11th, you need to develop narrative control in conversations. Most people let conversations happen to them. They respond to questions, follow threads others start, react rather than lead. But memorable people steer. They redirect conversations back to topics that showcase their knowledge. They reframe others' points through their own lens. They tell stories that position themselves as the protagonist. This isn't narcissism, it's narrative architecture. If you don't control your own story, others will write it for you, and they'll cast you as the extra, not the lead. Practice taking conversational control without seeming aggressive. Bridge from what others say to what you want to discuss. That reminds me of becomes your most powerful tool. 12th, eliminate all status, lowering body language, fidgeting, slouching, excessive nodding, stepping aside when someone approaches, making yourself physically smaller. These are submission signals. Animals do this to avoid conflict with dominance. Humans do it unconsciously. Expansive posture, stillness, direct eye contact, slightly longer than comfortable. Standing your ground. When someone enters your space, these signal equal or higher status. People unconsciously treat you according to the status you physically project. If you make yourself small, they will overlook you. This isn't about intimidation. It's about occupying space unapologetically, as if you belong everywhere you are. 13th, practice strategic cold reading. The people who captivate others seem to understand them instantly. This isn't magic, it's observation combined with general psychological principles. People reveal everything about themselves through clothing choices, speech patterns, what they choose to discuss. Learn to make accurate, sounding observations about people you've just met. You seem like someone who, followed by a reasonably safe inference, makes people feel seen, and being seen is addictive. They'll return to the person who seems to understand them. You're not actually reading minds, you're reading patterns and making educated guesses, but The effect is magnetic. 14th, use tactical vulnerability at calculated moments. I told you earlier that oversharing makes you invisible. That's true, but strategic vulnerability, deployed when it serves a purpose, creates powerful bonds. The key is sharing something that's true, slightly difficult to share, but ultimately shows strength, not weakness. Not, I'm insecure about everything, but I realized I was building my career for my father's approval, not my own. This is vulnerability that reveals self-awareness and strength. It makes you three-dimensional without making you pathetic. Use it sparingly. Only when it will maximize your memorability in that specific interaction. You're probably feeling something shift in your understanding now. That's intentional. Keep watching. 15th, develop a signature trait that's unusual but not absurd. This is personal branding at the micro level. It could be an unexpected hobby, a distinctive piece you always wear, a specific phrase you're known for, an unusual skill. It needs to be memorable without being gimmicky. The guy who always has a book recommendation, or the woman who's traveled to 40 countries, or the person who can draw photorealistic portraits. This becomes your cognitive hook, the detail people use to file and recall you. Without this, you're generic. With it, you're the person who, and being the person who makes you referable, rememberable, and therefore unmissable. 16th, master the art of strategic absence. Always be the first to end conversations when they're going well, not when they've died. Leave parties earlier than others expect. Exit meetings while you still have value to add. This does two things. First, it prevents you from overstaying and becoming tiresome. Second, it creates the Romeo and Juliet effect. People want more of what's being taken away. If you're always the last to leave, desperate to squeeze out every moment of social contact, you seem needy. If you leave when things are peaking, people feel slightly abandoned, and they'll seek you out to recapture that energy you took with you. 17th, never seek permission for your perspective. Ignored people preface their opinions with, "Does anyone else think?" or, "Am I wrong to feel?" They're seeking validation before they'll commit to a stance. This signals that their views are negotiable, contingent on approval. Unforgettable people state their observations as facts, open to discussion, not opinions needing permission. This strategy won't work because... Not, do you guys think this strategy might not work? One positions you as an authority offering analysis. The other positions you as a nervous participant hoping not to be wrong. The brain responds to certainty even when that certainty is wrong. Committed wrongness is often more magnetic than tentative correctness. 18th, use the power of specific compliments to create addiction. Generic praise is forgettable. "Great job," or "You're smart," evaporates instantly, but specific observation shows you're actually paying attention. The way you reframed that problem in terms of incentives rather than morality was brilliant. Most people miss that distinction entirely. This does something neurologically powerful. It shows you see them at a level others don't. You've noticed something about their competence that validates their self-image. They will want more of this. They will seek you out, bring things to your attention, hoping for that specific, intelligent validation again. You become the person whose opinion matters because your opinion is informed and precise. And here we arrive at the final and most essential habit, the one that integrates all the others. 19th, you must eliminate all trace of neediness from your presence. This is the root issue beneath every other habit. Neediness is the smell of desperation, and desperation repels. When you need people to like you, include you, validate you, remember you, they feel it. It comes through in your tone, your response time, your eagerness, your face, and it repels them at a biological level because neediness signals low mate value, low social status, low resource access. Everything we've discussed, the silence, the scarcity, the disagreement, the narrative control, serves to eliminate signs of neediness. You must rewire yourself to genuinely not need others' approval. Not pretend. Actually reach the state where you're offering value, not seeking it. Where you can walk away from any interaction without regret. Where rejection doesn't wound you. This is the final boss level of becoming unmissable. Because the moment you don't need attention, you start commanding it. Here's what no one tells you about these habits. They work because they're uncomfortable. They require you to act against your socialization, your desire to be nice, to be liked, to fit in. You've been taught that being memorable means being louder, funnier, more helpful, more available. All lies. Being memorable means being scarce, strategic, slightly unpredictable, and completely non-needy. It means accepting that some people won't like you and being fine with that. It means prioritizing being respected over being loved. This goes against everything you've been told, especially if you're a woman, especially if you were raised to be accommodating and sweet and agreeable. But think about the people in your life who you can't ignore, the ones who take up space in your mind even when they're not around. Are they the nicest people? The most agreeable? The most available? Or are they the ones who made you work for their attention, who challenged you, who seemed complete without you? The latter. Every time. You've been chasing the wrong model. And that's why you've been invisible. These 19 habits are not tricks. They're a complete restructuring of how you move through social space. They require practice, discomfort, and the willingness to lose some people in the process of gaining others. Genuine attention. But the alternative is what you've been living, talking into the void, wondering why no one remembers what you said, watching others get opportunities you deserved, feeling like a ghost in your own life. Implement these one by one. Start with silence. Get comfortable not filling every gap. Then move to scarcity. Stop being so available. Then disagreement. Challenge someone's idea intelligently this week. Layer these habits slowly until they become automatic. You'll notice shifts immediately. People will start asking where you've been. They'll lean in when you speak. They'll remember your name without prompting. Because you will have stopped being part of the scenery and started being part of the story. The most dangerous thing about being forgettable isn't that people don't see you. It's that you start believing their assessment. You internalize invisibility. You begin to think you're actually not interesting, not valuable, not worth remembering. And that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You shrink further. You speak less. You apologize for existing. This ends now. You are not forgettable because of some inherent flaw. You're forgettable because you've been operating on the wrong principles, playing a game where the rules were hidden from you. Now you know the rules. Now you know the game, and now you have a choice. You can continue being the person people nod at and forget, or you can become the person they can't stop thinking about. The tools are in front of you. The only question is whether you're willing to use them. Whether you're willing to prioritize being remembered over being comfortable. Whether you're willing to accept that being unforgettable requires becoming someone slightly dangerous, slightly unpredictable, slightly beyond reach. Because here's the truth they'll never tell you. You've spent your entire life trying to be heard, and no one remembers your name.